On November 2016, Hillary and Bill Clinton and their entourage of assistants effected a civilian coup. In contrast to the usual concept of a coup where the military is involved and takes over the White House and communication centers, very much like the scenarios you see in a movie, this coup was done silently and very effectively through two methods: corruption and co-optation. The Clintons have been involved in co-opting our White House, our judiciary, our CIA, our Federal Bureau of Investigation, our Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, and our Director of the FBI, James Comey, for some time now. What they've done is to make sure that they were part and parcel of a group of people who were interrelated through political cronyism. However, in order to stop this coup, we in the intelligence community and others involved have informally gotten together, and with their permission, I am beginning to announce that we've initiated a counter coup through Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. What has happened in effect when Comey had to open up the case of Hillary Clinton and discuss the emails that were involved with the Anthony Weiner case, it was not the case itself that was as important as the fact that this was the entree for many of us in the counter coup to say to the administration, we have your number. Not only do we have your number, we're going to stop you from making Hillary the President of the United States. And at the same time, we will convict and indict the President of the United States, Loretta Lynch, and many others who were involved in the cover-up of the massive corruption that occurred under the Clinton Foundation. Now, in both cases, their coup was silent, and our counter coup was silent, and it was all transgressed or occurred on the internet. And this is probably the first time in the history of any country where a coup was initiated through the internet and a counter coup was initiated through the internet. I am just a small part of something far bigger than myself. It was the brave men and women who were in the FBI, the CIA, the Director of Intelligence, the military intelligence, and men and women in 15 other intelligence organizations who were sick and tired of seeing this corruption in the White House, in the Justice Department, and in the intelligence system. And we decided that there was something we had to do in order to save the Republic. So we initiated a counter coup through Julian Assange, who's been very brave and really quite formidable in his ability to come forth and provide all the necessary emails that we gave to him in order to undermine Hillary and Bill Clinton. Again, America, we're going through a major, major transition and, quite frankly, a second American Revolution. We do not have guns, we do not have weapons, we do not intend to kill anybody, we do not intend to harm anybody. But we, the American public, and those of us who serve as veterans and in the intelligence service like myself, will stop the Clintons from assuming power that they don't deserve. At the same time, we will make certain that Obama leaves without any trail of a pardon or any other act of treason. In effect, we want a peaceful transition in this great American Republic. I bring you this news, and I want you to understand what has happened. A moment of history is occurring right now in front of us, and I'm proud to explain it to you.
There is a multinational coup going on over this country. They've used corruption to do it. It's even mainstream news. We're going under foreign corporate global governance. The communist Chinese are at the heart of it. The Saudis are involved. Others are involved. And we are having everything dictated to us like we were China 200 years ago that was a colony of the West and broken into 12 parts. America is losing its sovereignty. We are being bankrupted by design. And the globalists admit this is their philosophy, so they can dictate the terms of the United States' basic surrender to this hegemonic system. And the problem is the system that we're going into is so authoritarian. I mean, we don't hear any criticism of China for human rights abuses, any of it now, selling political dissidents organs, Christians and Buddhist organs. That's just an example of what I'm talking about and how the Philippines says, America's over, you're done, China runs everything now, get out of our country. He knows Hillary's penetrated. Hillary in the WikiLeaks has represented the Chinese president just 2 years ago. Total treason. You can just Google it. It comes up that she represents the Chinese. She represents anybody. She's like a street walking whore. And it is so bold and insane that we've let this get to this point. So Dr. Steve Pieczenik at stevepieczenik.com put out a video yesterday breaking down the fact that Hillary and her cohorts have done a coup on America. Look at the FBI. I mean, she's above the law. And so that people in the military, the different intelligence agencies that we know have been giving WikiLeaks their info, the British ambassadors come out. William Binney has said on air and off air, I mean, he's gone further than we did 6 months ago. He says it is U.S. intelligence doing this, and they're ready for the government to try to come after them and others, and ready to basically do press conferences saying, oh, okay, you know, here are the people that released it because this is treason. Go ahead and try to prosecute us. They were hoping that the FBI would do the right thing and would keep Hillary out, but they're ready, folks. So Hillary, one way or another, is in deep trouble. And Dr. Steve Pieczenik, again, one of the founders of Delta Force, head of psychological warfare in the State Department, ran, admittedly, this is in the BBC, you name it, has run the overthrow of at least 6 governments. He's the real deal in covert action. He's a psychiatrist, but also has a degree from MIT. Most of you know who he is, but he's never been seen in 25 years. Co-wrote books with Tom Clancy. He's the character Jack Ryan's based on. Hadn't been seen in 25 years. This is a guy that, you know, sends me photos when he's inside North Korea, you know, when he's on vacation. Wink, wink. I mean, he's the real deal. Everybody knows that. And you've seen the things he's talked about over the years come true. And so he's dialed in, folks, and we're dialed in as well. We've checked the things he said with high-level folks. And notice General Flynn is advising Trump. He's one of the leaders of the resistance, okay? So all of this is happening. This is history happening. I'm going to try to shut up now and give him the floor until the end of the hour. Dr. Steve Pieczenik, please roll through what we're facing, the stages we're at right now, 5 days out from the election with their takeover group versus the ghost of George Washington, I'd call it, fighting for this country's life.
Well, as I've said before on your show and other places, we've had a civil coup that was initiated by Hillary and her cohorts based on corruption and political cronyism. We had a counter coup, which was initiated several days ago by some of the people in 16 different organizations, as you mentioned. However, there's been more and more information coming out, and now we are concerned that 2 people are specifically targeted by our intelligence system. One is Abedin. The issue of Abedin and her connections to Saudi Arabia and the Salafists, and particularly with those Salafists or Imam who funded al-Qaeda and subsequently, presumably, Osama bin Laden, she is a very concerned target for us. And the reason for that is, the question is, she was born here in the United States, left after 2 years, and went back to Saudi Arabia. The family's prominent, wealthy. They know, you guys know the story. The real key issue is, how did she come back in 1996, get to the top of the ladder, political ladder, and become an assistant to Hillary Clinton, when in fact her connections, including her mother, her brother, and others, are very much tied in with the Wahhabis, Saudi Arabia, and the government? The answer from my perspective, and possibly from those who I work with, is that she's very much of an agent of influence and both an operative and infiltrator on behalf of the Saudi Arabia. Now,
and that's why she had the 650,000 emails reportedly under the name insurance on Hillary gathering data.
That's part of it. But what Alex, what I really want to talk about is the fact she's been here for a long time. And the question is, who gave her the top secret clearance that she had received after having been here only 2 years after 1996? So the question goes back to who, in fact, in our 3-letter agency worked in Saudi Arabia. There's only one agency. It's either Catholics in Action or the CIA, John Brennan, who has been very close to the Saudi Arabians, and also the Israelis. Now, why do I talk about both these issues? The ultimate distraction in this whole storyline with Abedin and Anthony Weiner has been, to me, somewhat of a farce. It's been either contrived or combination of, ongoing problems, but a highly contrived scenario, which distracts from the fact that Abedin is very much of a Saudi agent. However, she married a Jew, a pathetic Jew, but nevertheless, that neutralized the notion that she was a total Saudi influence. At the same time, there's a man by the name who we're targeting named Peter Kadcic, Kadcick. That's news. He works with a law firm in Washington, D.C. called Dickstein Shapiro. I know Dickstein Shapiro. I know their senior partner, Barry Levin. They're not very good lawyers, but they're extremely good at lobbying. 10, 15 years ago, they would charge me something like $600 per hour. So, they're not the smartest lawyers, but they could be the most corrupt lawyers in the business. Peter Kadcic was brought into the Justice Department as a result of being Podesta's lawyer, and Peter Kadcic got Podesta off of criminal charges. Podesta, who's as stupid as the day is long, made a comment saying, "This is my kind of lawyer. He makes sure that I never go to prison." So what we have is a Jewish law firm, Dickstein Shapiro, with a Jewish representative, Peter Kadcic, who is in turn going to evaluate and investigate a corruption trial with Abedin. That's a complete farce. And the farce continues because the corruption that's going on between Hillary Clinton and Obama is so serious that when I said weeks ago that we had a civilian coup and that we in the intelligence community informally initiated a counter coup, that's a major, major statement. Now,
sure, when you talk about history, and I've confirmed with a lot of high-level folks, people are now ready to pretty much do anything to save the country because every other way and avenue to fix things has been basically shut down. So now let's get to the historical point we are, just for lay folks out there, Dr. Pieczenik, about why this has been activated, what you think is now going to unfold in the next 5 days, where we're going. I mean, explain to folks, talk to us like we're not, former spy chiefs.
What's been activated is really an American revolution through the words of Donald Trump. He may or may not know the specifics, but that's not as important as the fact that he brought out the temperance and the anger that the American public feels, including what you said was...
Well, sure, he's being advised by people that I know full well are part of the counter operation. So that's why I know
Michael Flynn, I have the highest respect. I can't say anything more. He was the director of intelligence in the Defense Intelligence Agency. So there are those in the Defense Intelligence Agency with whom I have worked and still continue to work. So we're at a key point. What the intelligence community is saying is that there are several charges that want to be dealt with regard to Hillary Clinton. They want her to be indicted for bribery, corruption, obstruction of justice, lying under oath, and most importantly, it's a RICO charge. That's what we use against the Gambino family and the crime families. And the reason we want to initiate that, and there will be a prosecutor to come forth to prosecute her, whether she gets into the White House or not, is because she has been involved in massive corruption with massive collusion. Now, you're getting other people involved as well. So you're talking about Obama, you're talking about Loretta Lynch, you're talking about a Peter Kadcic, you're talking about a whole line of people, including the Podesta brothers, who have been involved in this collusion of corruption.
Yeah, with Russia.
Where do we go from here? We have 5 to 6 days to go. If she is elected, there will be an initiative to impeach her as the president of the United States. Our suspicion is that Obama will not pardon her. The reason for that is Obama's too smart. He too came in through the intelligence system, as I've said before, particularly the CIA. He worked for Peter Geithner. He worked for the Asian Society. He is a front for many of these groups. Contrary to what he said, the story is total nonsense. He was not a initiator of civil action on the local level. He was very much a product of the CIA. But you've got to remember 2 things. Saudi Arabia has had a major influence in our government since the Clintons, the Bush seniors, the Bush juniors, and now Hillary. They wanted to make sure that they had somebody very close to the hand of power. And in this case, they initiated her and penetrated Abedin very early on in 96. And I've got to say, as a counterintelligence agent, they did a very good job because no one in the press, not one person in the intelligence community, other than the people I've dealt with, have really spotted this. Secondly, there's an issue of diversity that people are concerned about, particularly Obama. Well, we have diversity because Israel has also penetrated our intelligence, as you've seen with Michael Chertoff and the other people involved in 9/11. So this is a continuation of the corruption and collusion that our government in Washington, D.C. has committed against the American people.
Sure. So let's boil it down then, Dr. Pieczenik. I mean, you put out powerful videos. You've gone public. You haven't been seen on video in 2 decades. You got out of the Council on Foreign Relations 15 years ago and rebuked them for 9/11. You've been exposing it all. You've been dead on about the de-evolution back to the States, the Brexit, Catalonia, predicted it here 5 years ago before it even happened. So you're talking to folks inside the government. You're talking to all your contacts, different agencies you were with. I know at the State Department, you were basically with them all. And now clearly people understand we have to act. And the intel I've gotten is we have to act because Hillary knows time is not on her side. They're going to move to sew up the country, shut down internet freedom, and try to basically shut us down. So that's why we've got to go into high gear, because they realize long-term we have the momentum. They want to shut down the peaceful process we've been using to counter them because they know we're winning. They want to push it into a destabilization program activated with Soros and others, the Black Lives Matter. And so this is a critical juncture right now. As you said, history is happening right now, a major moment in history, probably one of the most important in our history. What can the public do, to make sure this criminal is brought to justice?
Well, they can support Trump with the fact that he said this election is rigged. In other words, when the results come in, they can defy the results and stand up and say, we don't accept the results. And the reason for that is, again, you've talked about, and you had a very intelligent woman talk about the fact that the Diebold machineries and Dominion have really rigged the machineries in such a way that if Hillary is viable, as that lovely lady said, she will win. If that's the case, then the American public have to stand up without violence and say, we cannot accept this election result. There will be no way that Hillary can win legally.
That's right. They're already fractionally shaving. They're already flipping all over. They're already selling the narrative Trump's losing, even in rigged polls, sampling 12% more. ABC and a bunch of others. He is now 6, 8, 9, 10 points ahead.
Well, there's no question that Trump will be in the forefront. There's no question that Trump will not accept the results of the election. I will also say neither will the intelligence community accept the results of the election. The most honorable thing that Hillary could do, and I doubt she will do it, is to resign. Probably the only person I can appeal to within that family, whom I do know, and I think I regard her quite high, is Chelsea. I've known her since she was a teenager. She has had the same concerns about the Clinton Foundation that we've had. She's had major concerns about the corruption, about the fact that the foundation was taken over by the Podestas and banned, or whoever the man was working with Bill Clinton. She's also the one who gave us the tip-off on the fact that 10,000 Haitians were killed because of the Clinton initiatives in Haiti, and she was dismissed. So I can appeal to her on the part of the United States to say to her, tell your mother to stand down. If she does not stand down, this will continue as a revolution, hopefully civil, hopefully without violence.
Well, let me bring this up. I mean, you're one of the foremost psychological warfare guys ever. You got the Camp David Accords passed. I mean, you're credited for running those, the only successful accord ever, and then right through to modern times behind the scenes. What would you say about Hillary, who I know you personally know? She seems to have degenerated.
What I can say about Hillary, you don't need a psychiatrist to basically say what I've said all along. It's a woman who has come to the point of such self-destruction that she in turn will bring the whole country into a self-destructive mode. It's a woman who never really could achieve the aspirations that she stated. In other words, she claims she went to Yale, that's true, but unfortunately she's not as bright as she thought she was. She wasn't as accomplished as she maintained she is. Her judgment is terrible. Her ability to assess strategy and tactics is terrible.
By the way, her WikiLeaks, all her colleagues say she's a disaster and a horrible person. That's in all the emails.
Well, I'm going to quote, and not only Podesta, but I'm going to quote General Colin Powell, who said, everything she touches, she messes up, and then he adds the word hubris with pride. So you have an arrogant, ineffectual,
loser,
dysfunctional, woman who wants to be the president of the United States has never really initiated anything on her own or accomplished any accomplishment of any significance.
She's a clear and present danger.
She's a total clear and present danger. However, in that sense, I do not want any attempts at assassination. I do not want an overthrow of the government. This is a natural evolution in the world of the internet and the binary numbers. What makes this so interesting is the fact that you, Matt Drudge, Limbo, Sean Hannity, Fox News, Brit Hume, a whole bunch of others have really pushed the agenda that we've had and understood how to debride all of the nonsense that went on. I want to give special thanks to Lou Dobbs, who on the major networks really kept pushing on and saying, look, you Republicans are a failure. You Democrats are a failure.
And we know the White House and Hillary targeted him and had him removed. So let's stop there in the time we have. This is amazing, Dr. Pieczenik. This moment in history. Let's look at who the players are behind her, what she might pull. Clearly, the communist Chinese are in a very belligerent mode. They say they're buying all 6 Hollywood studios. They've got Philippines running around, hopping up and down, insulting us. Obama has to get off the back of planes. They think she's getting in. They're really, with the Saudis, behind all this from my research. Why would our elites allow this? This is literally insane. Even if we have corrupt elites, this is like letting us be completely decapitated when America's been the whole power of this modern empire.
Let me explain something. I know you think the Chinese are involved in all of this. First of all, I've worked in Hollywood and I'm a member of the Producers Guild. Hollywood is finished. For the most part, they can buy whatever they want.
No, I know you know that, but you've personally told me that Hillary is a Chinese operative, though.
No, I've never doubted that. What I want to get to is a far more important point about China, and China is listening right now, and they know I know this. If we want to bring down China, it's very easy for us to do it. 500 million Chinese above the Yangtze and Yalu River have absolutely no water. The Chinese are poised against the Indian army as well as the Pakistani army.
No, I know we can bring them down, but we don't have the elite to do it. That's my problem. I understand.
No. You always keep your gun loaded, but you don't pull the trigger. The Chinese have been warned repeatedly that without water, they cannot.
I agree. So why are they so belligerent right now?
They're not. They're doing what's best for their interest. Right now, everybody claimed the Russians were belligerent. They weren't. The Chinese are really far more interested, and I'm not apologizing for the Chinese. They're far more interested in building a merchant supply system along the lines that the Dutch did around the 15th and 16th system. They're not interested
Dutch East India model. Yeah, I get it.
It's the Dutch Indian model. They are now building railroad tracks in Djibouti, in Africa, in the Indian Ocean. They're far more interested in picking up the resources.
Sure. So here's the bottom line. I know I'm jumping around, Dr. Pieczenik. Major counter coup. How is that coup taking place? Obviously, WikiLeaks, more coming. Talk of press conferences if Hillary doesn't do the right thing. I mean, what else can you impart?
The fact that you and I are talking, the fact that Hillary had to mention Alex Jones and a presumed nonsense that came out of our stations, the fact that you have become a very serious threat to the establishment has already been a very major accomplishment of the counter coup. And that's why our intelligence services works through this. And they're not using you. They're simply stating, for the same reason that the Secret Service came through and said, look, Hillary cannot function. She has Parkinson's disease. We've mentioned that.
Sure, none of us are manipulating each other. We just see the same thing happening.
Well, the point is, what you want is a definitive end to this person. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen, because the way we work in America, is that gradually we will take away every political power that she has, including Uma Abedin, Peter Kachik, Podesta, and all those.
So we'll undermine and bring down her minions.
Well, exactly correct. We're warning them now that we will go after them, and they are highly vulnerable. And everyone who's been a part of the Clinton Foundation or received money, we have their names. We have their names. We know the amount of money that they've received, and it's very easy for us to pick it off. For example, this Peter Kachik, he better resign, because we can go after him for collusion. We can go after him for irregular activities as a lawyer. If we want, we can go after Dickstein Shapiro for many other travesties. They can come back and say whatever they want, but I know Barry Levin. And what I'm saying is, this is a warning to them. This is a warning to everyone there. Now, I do not give a warning you know as well that what I've said comes around in time. I cannot give you an endpoint, but I will tell you, come November 8th, Trump will declare the fact either he's won or it's a corrupt election. Once it's a corrupt election, the American public can protest in the streets peacefully and refuse to accept the inauguration of Hillary Clinton. We will not accept that. So there are many months in between November 8th and January before the time she's inaugurated as a president. Hopefully she will resign or she becomes sick. It's not relevant to us. But if Obama thinks he can pardon us, that will not happen. If Biden thinks he can co-opt that, that will not happen. What will happen again is either we will call for a re-election with another candidate they pick. We will not accept Tim Kaine. He is part of the CIA. He's part of the nonsensical collusion that's occurred. We are also asking that John Brennan resign because he's been a major source of problems for many, many things since 9/11 and onward. This is an issue that's come up among the 16 different intelligence communities, primarily military.
All right, Steve Pieczenik, amazing. And again, Drudge has linked to your video from yesterday. It's going viral, millions of views. We'll be right back. You've got a lot of ambassadors, other people concurring with what you're saying. The WikiLeaks came from inside the United States, not from Russia. Other key points in the 5 minutes we have about the counter coup and the warning to Hillary. I am seeing a lot of Democrats in the Chicago Tribune and others on TV exiting from her. We're seeing Obama cancel a lot of events with her. We are seeing some movement that looks like they're starting to understand they bet on the wrong horse.
I think probably the most important part right now that the President Obama could do before he leaves office. And, you know, I respect the fact that he served 8 years and he's done some good. There are other things I have a problem with. Is probably to convince Hillary Clinton to step down. I think that would be the most historical and most grandiose plan that he's ever done. I know he's not thinking about it, but I suggest to his advisors, particularly Valerie Jarrett, who's an extremely sophisticated woman from Chicago. I knew about her father, who was a very great hematologist who worked in Iran and worked for our country, that she should talk to him and Michelle Obama and say, look, this is not good for our country. We need a peaceful transition. And perhaps one of the greatest things that Obama could do as the president of the United States, he did two things that were very important. Turned around the economy, and he made us independent of oil from the Middle East. He doesn't need Saudi Arabia. He really doesn't need to deal with Israel as a little spoiled child. The real issue now is that Obama can sit down with Hillary and tell her, look, all bets are off. Whatever I owed you, whatever happened, I gave you the position of Secretary of State. That I happen to know for a fact. I won't quote who told me, but it was a decision that was made, quite frankly, while I was at a dinner table. She was given that position because it was a loss. She lost the race, and she was whining and complaining, so they made her Secretary of State. She did very poorly. Not just because she didn't know what she was doing, but she initiated a lot of problems in Libya. Forget the Benghazi issue, was worse than that. And then all the issues that came into Syria and Iraq. So what I suggest is that the President of the United States, his entourage at present, Susan Rice, who did come forth, actually, under Bill Clinton and complained and protested, as I did, that Bill Clinton should have prevented the genocide of 1 million Hutu and Tutsis. In the 90s, she was discarded. And I asked Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett and Michelle Obama to really encourage the President of the United States to allow him to talk to Hillary and say, look, those days are over. The time is over. The American public is very upset. Whether
exactly, but we know she's going to, like an arrogant creature with the media, still bull her way in, try to steal it. What happens?
I'm not sure of that, and I will tell you why. Axelrod, his advisor, came out with very important insights regarding Hillary. And there has been bad blood between the Clintons and the Obamas.
Oh, I know Obama hates her. I mean, because she's...
But the issue now is you're asking me, what can be the most peaceful denouement to this situation? And what I'm suggesting, I'm not representing the intelligence community now, is I'm suggesting that Obama is the President of the United States. Either convince her to step down ask someone else to replace her, not particularly Tim Kaine, he's a political hack who works for Terry McAuliffe, but someone else, and let the race continue, or negate the race and allow Trump to come into the position so we have a peaceful transition of power. The most important thing for our community in both the intelligence, financial, and political community.
All right, Doc, we got to go to break, and I got Farrah coming up. But come back and do 3 more minutes if you can. And speaking for the intelligence community that you've been talking to informally, what their message is to Hillary and Obama and the world when we come back. Dr. Pieczenik, again, I mean, you don't do a lot of other interviews. You've been nice to come on my show for 15 years. It's on record with General Boykin and with Schumacher. You helped found Delta Force, Black Ops, ran psychological warfare, overthrown 8 countries. You're the Jack Ryan character. Co-wrote books with Clancy, Hollywood producer. You've done it all. Psychiatrist, MIT scientist, military officer, all that secret, obviously, in your history. But here you are saying you represent the intelligence community, and I checked with people, generals, colonels, they go, absolutely, Pieczenik's on target. And you're saying this is a counter coup with WikiLeaks. Well, we have the British ambassador saying he's met with the folks that did it. They're ready to go public because they know that they did the right thing. It's not the Russians. What is the other messages that the intelligence community, the patriots, and what percentage would you say of the intelligence community is awake of 16 agencies? What's their message then to Hillary and the communist Chinese and the Saudi Arabians that run her like a sock puppet?
The message is very simple. I'm talking now on my behalf, but you understand I work informally with other people. I don't work formally in any way. The message is very simple. It's for her to stand down. She cannot become president of the United States. She's not physically, mentally, or psychologically or financially capable to maintain the presidency of the United States. The 16 units will not work with her. There will be a major, major problem. We still have a civilian counter coup that will work until she leaves the presidency. It's not violent. It's not forceful. We're not going to arrest her. That's not any of those issues. She knows very well her medical history cannot allow her to either lobby for the presidency or maintain any capability to stay in the presidency. If she does not, her targets will be Uba Abedin, Peter Karachek, a whole bunch of Podestas. There will be all kinds of issues that will be brought up. She will be brought up on charges of bribery, interference with investigation, lying to the public, lying to the FBI, and RICO charges. They will be major. Those RICO charges will, in fact, involve many, many people within the Clinton campaign and the Clinton administration, and all the law firms, including Dickstein Shapiro, cannot get her out of that. And actually, Peter Katchik may be part of that RICO charge. I can't speak any more on behalf of what the intelligence community will or will not do, but you have seen so far how effective they have been and how they were able to turn around James Comey. And it was the brave men and women within the FBI, within the other agencies who stepped forward and said they will not accept this.
Do you know which agency leaked the information to Assange? Because this is being... I don't want to identify it. Do I know? Yes. Do I want to identify it? No. And the reason for that has to do with my long-standing relationship. No, I understand. So what about the word, though, if Hillary really wants to push, there's going to be a press conference of a bunch of different agencies.
Well, in terms of what? Their agency is going to
people just coming out and saying, I released it, I leaked it, I did it.
Okay, well, that's their prerogative, but I do not want to reveal who and
no, I totally understand. I totally understand. Well, let me say this.
That will not happen.
General Flynn gave a speech 2 months ago where he said, this is Lexington and Concord. Our country's been overtaken. This is important as 1776.
Well, I know. I've met Michael Flynn, General Flynn. I admire him amazingly. He's been very effective. I actually went to one of his meetings where he brought in social scientists. He understands the psychological perspective of intelligence. He's been brilliant in terms of targeting. He's brilliant in terms of the ability to state exactly what the intelligence community can and cannot do. He's defied all of the people in the policy areas. And he's an unusual man. He should be the director of national intelligence, and he probably will become director of national intelligence. But Michael Flynn represents only a small part of a much broader group of people who I can tell you come from all backgrounds in the 16 different
No,
units.
I understand. This is a historic moment, as you said, one of the biggest in our history.
This is the second American Revolution. I wrote about it in Maximum Vigilance. I wrote about a coup 20 years ago in Maximum Vigilance against the President of the United States. It was not only a hard coup, it was a soft coup in what we're talking about now. But the American public has to understand this is really a change and a revolution in the internet age. And Alex Jones and Matt Drudge and all the others, Lou Dobbs and Fox, has been a part of this coup because it's occurring on the internet and on the binary numbers in the ether.
And it's not violent. StevePieczenik.com. We're having you on for an hour Friday. Thank you for all your time. And thanks for doing
It's my pleasure, and God bless your audience, will you? And thank you, Alex.
Amazing. Okay, wow. And again, speaking of the internet revolution, Joseph Farah, there goes Steve Pieczenik.